Ron.
Welcome, everyone, to the May 2026 Planning and Zoning hearing and regular meeting for Virgin Town. And as usual, we'll call everyone to order. Welcome to our new situation and welcome back to Mr. Kent Peterson, who is going to lead us in the pledge. And I'm going to ask for a declaration of conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts on any item on the agenda from any of our commissioners. We'll start with Claudia.
Nothing.
Aye, nothing. Lee?
Nope, nothing.
And Kent. All right, thank you very much. And on the review and the approval of minutes, I did look at the minutes, but I'm going to propose, and you guys tell me what you think, that we postpone approval till next month because there's a few things I want to check. My brain is a little fuzzy, so I want to go back and watch and make sure it's accurate. Yes. Is everyone okay with that? I'm fine. Kent, are you fine with that? Okay. And then we now have open forum for our audience members, and that is anyone who has a comment on something not on our agenda. When you come up to the new podium, feel free to pull the microphone down to your height. And before you start speaking, there's a little silver button there. Could you push it when you start and then push it when you're through?
Can you hear me? Groovy. I feel honored. So I want to mention my proposed condominium project. I recognize that there's opposition in whether it's a good idea or not. I want to say that I'm intending to come forward with this because I think it's in the best interest of the community. The new sewer line will be here in a year, and the community is going to need to look at expanding in certain ways, certain areas, and I want to volunteer my cooperation to help guide the city. I'm available, and all of the work that I've put into the condominium project to date not only have I got hundreds of thousands of dollars into the ground, but that hundreds of thousands into engineering. My engineering's correct, it's accurate. And incidentally, all of the engineering and all the work that I've provided will absolutely meet any grading ordinance that you pass. I highly recommend that you don't pass the one that's on the agenda. I've written a letter for that, and I won't speak about it, but I do want to talk to you and let you know that I have satisfied all of the engineering, all of the criteria that's in that ordinance to be able to begin the excavation on my condominium project. And I want to encourage not to you to not use this as a weapon, because, and quite honestly, in all seriousness, you are the planning and zoning, and I have to come to you for anything that I do, whether I do a condominium project or if I do an outhouse project. It doesn't matter. The same amount of work has to be done, and I've satisfied all the concerns. And I think that you're imposing a tremendous burden that isn't necessary. And only add that we've had multiple new projects come into town, hotels, RV parks, et cetera, and none of them had to do an excavation permit. We all had to do the right engineering, and we have done that. So please don't burden the community or other people to try to prevent one project. And so with that being said, I appreciate your time and hope you vote on behalf of all of the citizens, not just a few of them. Thanks. My name is Vince Blackmore, by the way. I should have said that.
Is there anyone else who would like to address an item not on our agenda? I'm going to have to teach myself that new trick. All right. Okay. All right. So now that brings us to commissioners' comments. Is there any commissioner who would like to make some comments? Do you want me to start with you, Kent? Do you have any comments? Just commissioner comments, but remember to press your little button. Okay, if you have no comments, just say no comment. Lee, do you have any comments today? All right, I have no comment other than I really liked the open house / spring event. That was a lot of fun. And I most especially loved that we had local vendors selling their wares, and I'd like to see that continue. Claudia?
Well, I'm going to echo that because I thought it was a great event. It was really nice to be able to spend some time and sit down and hang out with people. And I was confused by the local vendors, and that was so exciting to know that we have some. So I thought it was really a treat. So, yeah, that's all.
Okay, to push your little button.
I'm really old fashioned, as you know, and I was looking at some of the, we're talking about the community event last Saturday, was it? And I was looking at some of the ideas about what to do with parks. And I was, for your own information, my feelings about one issue, which affects us all, was that there was an idea of taking out the baseball diamond at the park and putting a stage over there. And I was concerned about a couple of reasons about that. I love the stage we have. I don't know that the proposal was to pull that out from the people that were basically, I think the town hired those things to be. Okay.
There was a committee as
The
well.
idea, whether it was to leave the original current stage where it was, and add another one, or what. But I understand that the current stage was a Boy Scout Eagle project. So hopefully that stays there where it is forever. To have a stage at the other end, excuse me, this is where I really got concerned. If you build it, they will come. Okay? There aren't very many people maybe around here who are baseball fans or softball fans or wiffle ball fans. But if we had a little diamond there like is there now, and we had a park that was kept nice with good grass and good edging, and even put a little bit of boundary lines for a little bit of wiffle ball park, you'd see people playing there at it. And I just think it's such an iconic park. It maybe somebody might think it's old, but to just put it into another stage for a band or whatever, I think there are better ideas, and I'd like to see what we did Saturday again to get people to really think about what they want Town Park to look like. America is baseball, and I think that if we build something there that's already there and keep it fixed up nice and keep the bases current, and so our kids can come and play in it, this kid will come and play in it, and I'll bring my family and I'll get some friends and we'll have a workup game or something, even though we don't have Little League and stuff like that. I think it's a great idea just iconically to make that park as popular as it is today. So I wanted to make that comment. Thanks for doing that.
Thank you. And with that, I will take a motion to close the public meeting and open the public hearing. Do I? Okay. Wait a minute. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Riker, usually I give a little blurb about the proposed ordinance. Do you mind if I read your background section? Because I think that does about the same thing. Okay. So the first item up for public hearing is an ordinance replacing VMC Title 16, Section 30.06 to address unlisted and prohibited uses. And Virgin Town Municipal Code currently includes a provision treating any use not listed as permitted or conditional in a given zoning district as prohibited. While that clause addressed unlisted uses as a general matter, the Planning Commission has proposed adding an express enumerated list of uses that are prohibited across all zoning districts with the goal of providing additional clarity to applicants, residents, and town staff. We are encouraged to come up with lists of prohibited uses by our town attorney. In preparing this proposal, those are my words, by the way, that just little extra thing, a little history. In preparing this proposal, the commission reviewed use lists from comparable Utah municipalities and identified uses that are inappropriate for any zoning district within the town based on their scale, character, or incompatibility with Virgin Town's land use pattern and planning guide.
It doesn't replace anything, okay? That was already gone, that section 3006 was removed from the ordinance, I don't know, months or years ago.
So that should read add, to add a section. Okay. All right. With that being said, are there any, and on this one, we did get one letter or one person reached out to us and Crystal has printed those off for us. Did everyone have a chance to read those? I did. Okay. Besides that, is there anyone in the audience who has additional comments on this? Just remember to push the blue button and state your name. Thank you.
Nice digs. It's really. I think you made reference to this already. Chuck Matzler did write a letter, and he asked me to basically make reference to it to ensure that you give it consideration in your discussion on this item. So if that's the letter you have, that you made reference to, I'd like to make sure that he's spoken for on that. And I'll read his first paragraph and go on from there. I'm writing to formally express my opposition to the proposed amendment regarding the addition of prohibited uses across all zones within Virgin. Specifically, I am concerned with the prohibition of uses such as arcades, bowling alleys, dry cleaners, maintenance yards, miniature golf, pawn shops, skating rinks, storage facilities, and warehouses. And he goes on to spell that out later. So I think I've done my civic duty for my neighbor, and I hope you consider his letter. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cost, did you remember to hit the blue button? Did you hit the blue button to turn the mic off?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you so much. Oh, we just have to get used to the pattern. In another month or two, it will seem like it's always been the way it was. So, all right. If there are no additional comments, we'll move on to item number 2. And this is an ordinance amending Virgin Municipal Code 1640. Did I put it on? Oops. 08 to add permitted agricultural uses to the commercial zone. And this background information is VMC 1640.08 currently establishes the permitted uses in the Virgin Towns commercial zone. Agricultural uses, including the tilling of soil, raising of crops, horticulture, gardening, and grazing of livestock, are not currently listed as permitted uses in that zone. Planning Commission has proposed adding these uses as permitted uses in the commercial zone, citing community interest in accommodating small-scale agricultural activity in a manner compatible with existing commercial development. Is there anyone who has a comment on that item? If not, we will move on to item number 3. Crystal, these are very helpful. Thank you. An ordinance, except I keep thinking I'm accidentally scrolling this. It's okay. An ordinance amending and restating Chapter 1620 of the Virgin Municipal Code to establish a joint utility committee, amending subsection 161812 F1 to designate the Community Development Director as the administrative land use authority and final plat approval, repealing references to the Development Review Committee and providing for coordinated utility review of development applications. Let me check this background. It's a little longer, but that's okay. Virgin Towns Municipal Code currently establishes a development review committee in Chapter 1620 to coordinate the review of development applications. Under the current structure, the DRC holds certain approval authority over development applications. However, the DRC is composed primarily of representatives from the outside entities, including Ash Creek Special Service District and the Hurricane Valley Fire District, who are not town officials or employees. Under MLUDMA, Can you give me a translation of that, please?
That's the Municipal Land Use and Development Act in the
Okay.
state code.
Just for the benefit of our audience. Utah Code 10-20-501, Land Use Authority is to be designated by the town council among its own designated bodies and officials. The current DRC structure raises questions about whether vesting approval authority and representatives of independent utility entities is consistent with that framework and whether it creates accountability concerns for the town's development review process. This ordinance was prepared by the town planner to address those concerns by replacing the DRC with a Joint Utility Committee, the JUC, a technical coordination body with no approval authority, and by clearly designating the Community Development Director as the administrative land use authority for final plat approvals, bringing VMC Chapter 1620 and 1618-12F1 into alignment with the town's current administrative structure. The town council reviewed the ordinance at its April 7th, 2025 work meeting and authorized it to proceed to the Planning Commission for a public hearing and formal recommendation. Is there anyone in the audience who has comments on the JUC? Hit the little button.
Thank you. Paul Louis, 439 North, 300 East. I have no particular comment, but I want to thank the commission for considering all the ordinances that we directed down to you. I think this was the last one for today. So I wanted to do that, and I wanted to see what it felt like on this end to be talking to you. So thank you for this experience of doing that. No comments. Pardon me? If I break out in a disco dance from the 70s, then watch out.
Yeah, that's interesting how that works. There's a physics lesson there. Okay. All right. So we will move on to item number 4. An ordinance adopting and enacting a new Chapter 46 in Title 16 of the Virgin Municipal Code, VMC, establishing a review process for new or unlisted business uses as required by Utah State Code 10-2507, providing for classification requests, administrative review, legislative action, and appeals, and making related amendments. Make sure I have the right one. Okay. The Utah State Legislature in this last session recently enacted Utah Code 10-2507 as part of Senate Bill 1008 in their 2025 first special session. The Municipal Land Use Development and Management Recodification, which took effect in November of 2025. Among other changes, it requires each municipality to establish a formal process for reviewing and classifying proposed business uses that are not expressly designated as permitted, conditional, or prohibited within a zoning district. Virgin Town's current land use regulations do not include such a process, creating a gap in the code that this ordinance is designed to fill. Without a defined procedure, unlisted businesses uses have no clear pathway for evaluation, creating uncertainty for applicants and potential inconsistency in how town responds to novel or emerging business types. This ordinance was prepared by the town planner to bring the VMC into compliance with state law and to establish a transparent, predictable review framework. The town council reviewed the ordinance in its April 7th, 2026 work meeting and authorized it to proceed to Planning Commission for this public hearing and for us to make a formal recommendation. Prior to this hearing, the ordinance was reviewed by the town attorney. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this item on our agenda? Okay. Item 6, an ordinance, item 5, that's 5. No, we're on 5, right? Yeah. Okay. An ordinance amending and restating section 16 to 18 of the Virgin Municipal Code to establish procedures for preliminary and final site plan review, providing the technical utility review by the Joint Utility Committee, delegating approval authority to the Community Development Director, and providing for an orderly, safe, and compliant development review process. And the background to this is Virgin Town's Municipal Code currently includes a basic site plan requirement at VMC 16-18, which requires a site plan to be filed as part of a zoning permit application and identifies a general list of submittal items. However, the existing provision does not establish a defined review process, approval authority, approval standards, or a two-stage structure to distinguish conceptual review from final engineering review. This ordinance was prepared by the town planner to address those gaps by amending and restating VMC 16-18 in its entirety, replacing the existing submittal requirements with a comprehensive preliminary and final site plan review framework. The town council reviewed the ordinance at its April 7th, 2026 work meeting and authorized it to proceed to the Planning Commission for this public hearing and a formal recommendation from us. Is there anyone in our public who would like to comment on this item? And that leads us to our final item for public hearing. And that is an ordinance adopting and enacting a new section in Chapter 16.8 of the Virgin Municipal Code, establishing standards for grading, excavation, and earthwork activities, providing for permitting, engineering, and enforcement procedures, and promoting public health, safety, and welfare through responsible land disturbance regulation. And is there any comment from the public on this? And we did have a letter in our packet for this item as well.
My name's Alan Lee. I'm a little bit concerned on this one here because it doesn't define how much, what size of a land disturbance. Or, I mean, if I want to go out in my backyard and rototill my garden, is that going to be something I need to get permitted? But it doesn't say that. You need to clarify that end of it, I think. To, you know, another thing too, you guys need to think right now, it's not a big deal for you to issue your permits and stuff. But as we grow and get bigger, pretty soon you're going to be inundated by the amount of things that are going to be coming before you, and you're not going to have, you're going to be here full time. And that's not fun. So, but anyway, I'd like a little clearer definition on the size and amounts and what exactly is going to, you know, you're going to have require permits for.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Lee. Didn't even have to tell them. I like that. You've been watching.
Hi, my name is Tom Lacoste again, and again, I'm here for two reasons. One, to give my own thoughts on this one. I think grading ordinances are very important, but I'm also referencing a letter that I received from Chuck Matzler, and I'm just calling, I'm basically, he would like to make sure that that is considered, because you may be voting on this today as I read the agenda. So hopefully his letter is considered. And I'll read the first paragraph of it because it hit home with me. I'm writing to express significant concerns regarding the language currently proposed in Section C of the Grading and Excavation Ordinance, specifically the requirement that, quote, no grading permit shall be issued except in connection with an allowed use, close quote, presents substantial and unnecessary hurdles for landowners and business community. And I didn't pick this up, but he sent me a letter, and it's very significant in terms of somebody like me. A lot of times I'm moving dirt from one piece of my land to the other or whatever. I don't have a plan in place as to what I'm going to do with it. It's just, I'm just leveling it out and moving dirt on my land. And it'll cripple my ability to do what I've been doing for years, which is to call people like Alan and Kenny and basically have them come over and move some dirt for me. You know, that just simply moving dirt. To have a plan in place and an engineered, whatever, the steps that it takes, again, it's covered in the ordinance. It's very, very inclusive as to everything a person needs to do to move some dirt. And I think all of those steps that you need to go through, they may apply to a subdivision, or somebody's going to build a house tomorrow or something like that. But for the person who is just small potatoes and wants to move a little bit of dirt and do something, they may not have a plan, or they can be big potatoes. They don't have a plan. They might have a 5-acre piece of land somewhere that has some hills on it or whatever. They want to clean it out or rough it out or something to see what they can do in 5 or 10 years with that piece of dirt. And I think the way this is written, quite honestly, it's a real deterrent to development and to people to do what they've been doing here for many, many years. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lacoste. Right, one more thing down there.
Hello, I'm Hannah Berry. I guess I just have questions on this last one as well. Like, a lot of people in town are on septic, so I know we're moving or talking about moving to sewer. But when you have the word excavation and earthwork activities, and if people have septic issues, is there going to be clarity on that as well? I know this is probably a smaller thing, but I'm just curious as I have a septic tank, so.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, I figured. So just curious if there could be clarity for that as well, especially if we are going to move to sewer. What does that mean for earthwork and grading and all of those types of standards that you want to have?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, I kind of feel like I'm in a haunted room. But it's cool. It's really cool. I just want to capture Ms. Berry's thought before I move on. All right. Are there any further comments on this final item? If not, I will take a motion to close the public hearing and open the public meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor? All right. Okay, and next we move on to our public meeting. We only have one item, and that is the grading ordinance, and I believe this is its 4th public hearing. After each previous public hearing, we spent a good portion of the following work session, including this last one, going over every concern that we had a record of, either in our notes or in a submitted written response, okay? And in fact, I think last time we revisited some of those as well, just to verify. And we are going to ask the commissioners and maybe ask for some clarification from our planner about this, because I've heard this concern from other residents. I think it is in the ordinance under exemptions. Correct. Anything under 2,000 square feet is not an issue. And it says, and it also says residential landscaping is an exemption. Those two things are exempted. No, but I thought the question about septic. So that if you have a 10-foot by 10-foot, it's 100. I mean, 2,000 square feet would definitely cover a septic, even if you had to dig down to replace it. Because I think of just the size of the septic tank is like 100. If I made that 3-dimensional, it's about 400. So that leaves about 1,500 square feet to dig around. That number is a consistent number, just for information of the public, used in every town surrounding us. Every town surrounding us has that number. The only one I didn't check. The only one I didn't check was Rockville, because there's so little, especially with commercial. There's nothing commercial in Rockville at this time. So, but I did check Lee all the way up to Leeds and all the way down to St. George, and just to see what were the numbers they had, and then I went broader just for the state, and those were very common as well. Riker, do you have anything to add to clarify that? Is it, in your professional opinion, can we make it clearer?
Related to the septic
Well,
excavation.
Or residential.
So the residential should be covered underneath the residential landscaping exemption.
And that is section D, if you want to go to the ordinance and read it under, section D.
We do have an exemption that's emergency and public facility projects. If the town wanted to, we could include some language there that just further clarified that emergencies related to utilities could be exempt, could be determined exempt. We do have, for any claimed exemption, there's the pre-application process. So that would allow the town to at least get eyes on it.
I think it
If
would,
necessary.
it would keep, I think the vast majority would be under 2,000 square feet. I think if it was the septic coming in, that would be in the permit, it would be part of an overarching
Installing
thing.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, installing one would fall under just whatever permit would be required for that building permit when it happened.
Mr. Lee? Would, that would require, but that would require a permit for the septic, wouldn't it?
So the way the ordinance is written now, it would. If the town would like to provide for an exemption in that, then we could specify that utility work such as replacement of the septic system.
Okay.
For fire mitigation or prevention?
We could include that. We'd want to define that a little bit, but we could include that, yes. And we could include that under the same category.
situations that, some of these rules that we issue without changing this?
So if the commission were to make a recommendation today, you could recommend it on the condition that that language be explored and
Yeah.
presented to the council.
Yeah,
But I would suggest that it be included in the ordinance itself. Just to,
but we could make a recommendation to town council with those amendments.
correct.
All right. And Mr. Lee, give me your exact phrasing. You said if I had what kind of emergency? So that's a natural disaster.
Just something like that.
Yeah. So some kind of emergency provision. And that would also include fire mitigation.
Which I noticed in Chuck's letter, he made reference to, no exceptions for fire mitigation.
Yeah. And with that new law, and we're such a large portion of our town is in the high risk. Yes, Mr. Lacoste. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, and we could list including but not limited to.
So I would just suggest expanding the language under the emergency and public facility projects to include situations like that.
All right. Thank you for pointing that out.
I think we added, suggesting the council that the language would come up to do that.
Be added.
Yeah, like the definition be expanded and prior to presentation to the
Okay.
council.
So
Yes.
expanding with so let's write this down so we get it correct. Expanding the definitions,
Well, just expanding the language
the language.
in 18 or 16.8.62
0.62
D4
D4 to
to include
include.
emergency utility situations such as septic repairs or replacement.
Okay. That way I can get it correct. And then what about fire mitigation?
Yes, and also addressing fire mitigation.
To
Sorry, I
include
missed that.
as well as okay. Nice. All right. So let me read this. Expanding the language in 16.8.62 D4, that's the exception section, to include emergencies such as septic repair, replacement, as well as fire mitigation.
Yep.
And then, does that sound okay to everyone?
Right.
Okay. Are there any other comments on this item from the council, the commission? I think we've really discussed this, and any item that was brought to our attention, we researched. And it's common practice, right? And I know that's kind of what our town planner did when he came up with this originally. And we've made several modifications, including 3 from the last public hearing. And that's actually what this public hearing is about. But if I can make an ordinance better, we're going to add this recommendation on. Okay. All right. So if there's no further discussion on the part of the commission, I will take a motion to, for a vote, a recommendation to approve recommend approval of an ordinance adopting and enacting a new section in chapter 16.8. Is that right? Yeah, of the Virgin Municipal Code, establishing standards for grading, excavation, and earthwork activities, providing for permitting, engineering, and enforcement procedures, and promoting public health, safety, and welfare through responsible and disturbing land disturbance regulation, with the amendment that of expanding the language in 16.8.62.d.4 to include emergencies such as septic repair, replacement, as well as fire mitigation. Do I have a,
So move.
I second.
Kent,
Aye.
Lee? Darlene, aye. Claudia?
Aye.
Aye. So this item passes with the suggested recommendation for emergency situations. And I just wanted to point out that the concern about a vegetable garden, that was one that came up. I believe is also covered in that same section. If you look at the residents and also this, I saw it in D2 and D3, I think it was D2 and 3. I think that would cover most things for community members. All right, that was our last item. So we have our work meeting in which we will discuss any public hearing that we got either in person or via written, and ask questions of our town manager and our town planner in preparation for next month's meeting. Okay, so with that, I'll take a motion to close this public meeting.
Close the public meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, and the meeting ended at 6:20. Thank you, everyone. And by the way, there's a Meet the Candidates. I think it starts in 10 minutes at the old church where we used to meet. I think it's for the county commissioners, if I understand. Thank you, everyone, for your input. As usual, it was enlightening.
Thanks, everybody.